Hello there, and welcome to Thought for the Week. I've been doing some reading in John recently, the Gospel according to John, the fourth Gospel, and I've been looking at chapter 6. And chapter 6 contains some extraordinary incidents in the life of the Lord Jesus, not least the feeding of the 5,000. This is what John tells us in chapter 6. Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of Galilee, that is the Sea of Tiberias, and a great crowd of people followed him because they saw the miraculous signs he performed on the sick. Then Jesus went up on a hillside and sat down with his disciples. The Jewish feast of Passover was near. When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming towards him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?" He asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was to do. Philip answered him, 8 months' wages, 200 denarii wouldn't be enough to buy bread for each one to have just a bite. What an interesting background to this great miracle, isn't it? How fascinating that the Lord should say to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?" Now, John has told us that this was on the far shore of the Sea of Galilee, on the northeastern corner, that would be, where there was a village called Bethsaida. It literally means the house of the fishermen. But Bethsaida was the home of Philip and also Peter and Andrew. They came from that village. So it was a village they were very familiar with. So here's Jesus saying to Philip, who came from that village, "Philip, where are we going to buy bread enough to feed all these people?" Amazing. Philip would know, but this was no consolation. There was a vast crowd coming towards them, and Jesus was saying, we need to give them something to eat. Well, it reminds me of Laurel and Hardy. Do you know that wonderful phrase that often comes up? "Here's another fine mess you've gotten me into." Can you imagine how the disciples must have felt as they saw this vast crowd coming towards them, and Jesus saying, we need to feed them? Amazing. But the great thing is that Jesus was master of the situation. And that encourages me no end, because this was a huge problem they were facing. But Jesus was there. And Jesus was master of the situation. And it didn't work out at all as they thought it would, because they thought it was all down to natural resources, what they could buy with a colossal amount of money. But that wasn't the way it was resolved at all. It was resolved completely by the grace of Jesus. He knew exactly how he was going to resolve the problem. And I find that very encouraging. Lindy and I, we have a number of challenges at the moment, and we wonder how we're going to face them. But the great thing is, because we belong to the Lord Jesus, because we're his, we can rely on him to act in a completely divine, supernatural way to do what would be quite impossible in the natural. Well, I don't know how you're placed this week, but if you're facing any particular challenges, don't feel that it's all down to you to work it out. Not at all. Jesus is master of the situation, and he's going to take you by surprise. You're going to be surprised by joy. Hallelujah. Well, the Lord bless you this week, and goodbye for now.